Hi, I'm attorney Gregory Dell, joined by attorney Rachel Alters, and we're going to discuss a case that Rachel resolved against the Cigna Insurance Company, now taken over or acquired by New York Life Insurance Company. And in this particular scenario, I want to talk about the background of the case, what you were able to do for the client, provide some tips about that people could take away from this that may help them with their disability claim no matter what situation they're in. So first, tell us about the occupation of this person, the policy language, and then we'll get into the basis of the denial and the claim.
Sure. This was a claimant that I represented who was the vice president of sales for his region for Apple Computers. He had been with the company for 23 years and he was a very dedicated employee. He ran into an issue with his knee and needed multiple surgeries. And after the first surgery, he thought he would be okay within 2 months to go back to work, but it didn't end up working out for him. It ended up getting worse. He needed another surgery, and there was really nothing else that could be done for his knee, and he just had to suffer with chronic pain. He was on pain medications and very uncomfortable, so wasn't able to do his job.
And so, as a result of the knee disorder, I'm assuming he tried to work through it for a period of time and got to the point where he couldn't.
Right.
When did he reach out to you for assistance?
After his application was denied, we went and helped him do an appeal. He filed the application on his own. They decided that he could work in his job, so we went forward with an appeal to show that he couldn't do his job as a VP of sales because it required a lot of standing. He couldn't sit for long periods, and due to the chronic pain, he couldn't concentrate.
And what was the basis for their denial initially?
They thought that because he had the surgery, oftentimes insurance carriers will wait for a claimant to have surgery, and automatically 6 weeks after any type of surgery is performed, they say, okay, well, they should be fine to go back to work. And a lot of times the surgeons will also agree with the insurance carriers that the surgery was successful, therefore they should be back to condition where they can go back to their job. But this wasn't the case.
So what was your strategy during the appeal?
We worked with, I actually referred him to a pain specialist because he hadn't been seeing one. So he started seeing a pain specialist who was documenting very carefully the pain that he was in. They were giving him injections to ease the pain, and this pain specialist was extremely supportive of his inability to work. We were also working very closely with the surgeons who performed the surgery on his knee, and they were also in agreement that the surgeries didn't go well, that actually the first knee surgery basically failed, that he would need another knee surgery because the condition wasn't getting any better.
When you say a pain doctor, what type of doctor is that?
A pain doctor is a specialist who will treat a patient for the pain that they're having, whether it's in their spine, in their knees, in their elbows, whatever it is, and they will treat for chronic pain. So a pain doctor is not going to do a procedure such as surgery, but what they will do is they can give injections, cortisone injections, epidural injections into the spine, and they do this to help control a patient's pain in order for the patient to be able to function on a regular basis.
So is that like, it could be an anesthesiologist trained in pain management,
It could be.
or a physiatrist?
Right.
Okay. And then once you also mentioned another issue that comes up is that a lot of surgeons who are treating doctors do surgery and then they say, well, I repaired you, you should be better. But sometimes there is a conflict because if the surgeon's saying, well, you still have a limitation, then the surgeon sees it as a failure
Right.
in what they did. So did you have that issue in this particular case, or were you able to get the surgeons on board with agreeing with the claimant that the claimant was still having problems?
Yeah, in this case, we were able to get the surgeons on board, and they were willing to fill out the attending physician's statements and write letters stating that the surgery, in their mind, was successful. However, he didn't recover as they expected him to, so that another surgery was necessary. And then he actually had the other surgery, but the issue is you can't have the surgeries too close together. So what they want often you to do, the surgeons, is to have the surgery, go through physical therapy for quite some time to see if you can actually get better before they open you up again. So he went through physical therapy for months. It didn't help. He was still in extreme pain. And so they did the other surgery, but after the second surgery, he was still having pain and they really didn't know what else to do for him. So what the surgeon had said was, listen, you're going to probably need to live with this chronic pain. Another surgery is not going to help you. So unfortunately, his job was, very, very strenuous. He had to be completely, aware, alert. He dealt with people who were, purchasing a lot of, things from Apple. He made lots of money. He had a high up sales position where he couldn't, be taking medications such as Percocet or, something very strong where it would make him foggy, where he would be responsible for, too many funds, too much money, and the company wasn't going to have it.
So at the time you submitted your appeal, the definition of disability was unable to perform the substantial material duties of his occupation.
Right.
And when you submitted that appeal, you won that appeal. So what did that mean?
It meant that for 24 months, that Cigna was going to pay his benefits as long as he continued to qualify under the definition of disability. So we still had to make sure that he was treating with his physicians, doing the physical therapy as they requested, and make sure that there was documentation to support. Because even during that 24 months, every 6 months they were asking for updated forms and updated medical records from the doctors.
So what happened when you got to the 24-month mark?
At the 24-month mark, they did another review to determine whether he would qualify for the definition change, which would be, can he do any gainful occupation and earn 80% of his pre-disability income? And what they determined, based on their vocational experts that reviewed the file, reviewed his records, that there were multiple jobs in the job market in the area in which he lived that they felt like he could handle on a full-time basis, that were sedentary jobs, and that would make him 80% of his income. So we disagreed, his doctors disagreed that he couldn't do these jobs, that he was in too much pain to sit for long periods of time. He couldn't focus for long periods of time, but we submitted the appeal, we submitted all of our supporting documentation, but Cigna still denied it.
So what was his remedy at that point after you had done an appeal? So to back up, they deny him initially, you do an appeal, you win, you get him paid for 2 years. Now the definition change comes, they cut him off, you do an appeal. This time they say, we don't agree with your appeal. So what was left to do?
Well, with Cigna, you're allowed to do another appeal. They have a voluntary appeal process, and I believe we did file for a voluntary appeal as well. They denied that. After that denial came, we filed a lawsuit in federal court.
Okay. And so once you file the lawsuit in federal court, then how long is that process, and did you reach a resolution in this particular matter?
We did reach a resolution. Usually the process could take up to a year, sometimes a little bit more. Usually there's a mediation that's required, which is, we meet together, all the parties, to try and work out a settlement. And we did that. We worked out a settlement. It's confidential, but, everybody walked away, and he's no longer has his, Cigna claim anymore.
So once you reach a settlement, which the terms of that are confidential, then it's over. There's no relationship between the disability insurance company and your client, and now the client lives his or her life and can do whatever he or she wants to do, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, not that unusual, though, that you win an own occupation claim, and then when it gets to any occupation claim where the definition is more difficult, obviously that's why they changed the definition, that you see the companies again try to deny the claim. And in this particular case, which sounds like a serious medical condition, Cigna was not letting the pedal off the metal. I mean, they were out to make sure that this person was going to have to do everything and anything to get benefits. And in terms of it being, people say, well, you settled, but a settlement can be a victory because you don't know what the outcome is going to be of a trial. And in reality, 95% of these claims resolve in some kind of settlement because it takes the risk out of the equation by going to a judge. In this particular case, a judge makes a decision, and you could end up with nothing.
Sure.
So it becomes a cost-benefit analysis. Get something or get nothing at the extreme. And if the number makes sense for a claimant, then a claimant's going to settle. And if it doesn't, then you obviously go the distance. And I know you've litigated thousands of these cases, and so that's just one scenario. But obviously the client was satisfied to the point that he wanted to resolve, and luckily he was able to also get the many years of benefits before they denied him. Right. So if you have what's now New York Life, or formerly Cigna, long-term disability insurance claim, feel free to reach out to Rachel or myself. We'll be happy to provide you with a free consultation. No matter where you live in the country, we're available to assist you, and we look forward to the opportunity to speak with you. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the managing attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process, and when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now, at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search, plus we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now, we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.